Hello. So I want to show or demonstrate how to add the right podcast episode template from our Divi library. We've created a special podcast episode template, and we want to load it in as if we are adding a new podcast episode. So I've given in WordPress the title of example new episode, and down here is the Divi builder. A little bit further down is our PowerPress setting where we add the MP3 file. In this case, we have one from Libsyn. I'm not going to publish this. I'm going to verify the URL. I'm using a different episode, and we don't want to mess up our feed. So this will never get published. It will be deleted. And I have added a featured image onto the site over here. So we have a featured image showing up, and this will make sense in just a second. So we're going to come in and load layout. When we load the layout, Elegant Themes, the maker of Divi, they have a section called pre-made layouts. These are their layouts. We want to ignore those. There used to be a tool that allowed us to hide those. A recent update broke that ability. So you may see this, you may not. If you do see it, we simply want to go to our saved layouts. And in here, we want to find the podcast episode 1.1. That's just our identifier for it that says use this. I've labeled the others with ZZZ. I was hoping to try and maybe change the order of this, but this just displays in the order it gets displayed in. So we want to use podcast episodes layout. We're going to click that to load it. Now this may take a second or two. This is loading a number of files with images and things like that into our builder. Speeds may vary depending on how fast the server is going. And at this point, I'm going to save a draft. I'm not publishing. Again, this is for demonstration purposes. Let that save this into everything. There it goes. Speeds may vary and depends on, this is more about the server running at Bluehost than anything else. And at this point, I want to show what this looks like on the front end so that we get a sense of if this looks right or not. So I'm going to click Build It on the front end. This changes it to what's known as the Divi Front End Builder, which was just sort of a live look at what this could be. This will load up. And you'll see the spinny thing down here. This is the player preparing to load that MP3 file. And you'll notice there'll actually be two players. This is only on the preview. On the live view, this top player will disappear. It's just how PowerPress works. It has a default setting because we have older episodes that get one rule, and on our podcast episode, it gets a different rule. And so we'll see this, and you'll notice a couple things. One, we have two titles. We have a title up here, and we have the same title down here. This is what we typed into our WordPress title, and we don't want that. We've got the stuff on the right, which takes away from the way the show looks. We don't want that either. And we have an episode summary. This is something that we'll need to edit. Now, I've added some steps here as a reminder of what we need to do. So step one, we need to add a summary. Step two, add show notes if we have them. That goes in something called the accordion. Add a unique featured image. That featured image shows up in the background behind our player. Then in the upper right-hand corner, it says in the post editor to turn off the title. That will remove our duplicate title and possibly change the width to full width. And then we've got adding the URL, the MP3 file, which I've done already, and save draft and preview things. So let's take a look at the initial look. You'll notice some things are grayed out. Some things show up one way on a computer and will show up slightly different on a mobile device. So the template is smart enough to display it at the right time. We have the system will pull the most recent episodes for this section up here and display them with the player. Down below, we have some things that are fixed. These are not dynamic. These do not ever change unless a human comes in and edits each and every one of these on that specific podcast episode page. That's how these particular ones work. There's some other ways that we could manage that in the future if we wanted to. That's just how these are created right now. Then we have some information about our host. We have an area that we're not using yet, but it's kind of nice looking, and we might have a use for that at some point. We have some counters that show how much has been done on the show already. This is something that also has to be manually edited by a human. This is not dynamic. We might be able to do something with that in the future, but we don't have the systems to make that smart. And then we have our accordion where our show notes go. You can, while you're in this section, you can type or paste them here, or you can click the little sprocket looking device here, and you can edit those within what's called the accordion. You can copy and paste them. So we're providing that. The main purpose of the show notes isn't to get people to read show notes. That is definitely not the purpose. The purpose is to help people discover this episode either through a Google search or when they're doing a site search on a topic. We have relatively short titles, and there's nothing wrong with that, but sometimes people might be looking for a quote or something that they heard mentioned in an episode or a concept, and they'll be able to do a search, and the text that's hidden here in the accordion will bring them to this page. They can then expand the accordion, find a quote, share it if they like, things of that nature. So I'm going to come back and exit the Visual Builder to walk through the last couple steps that were mentioned. I'll save this as I go. Oops. Or maybe I'll save it the manual way. Sometimes that will get stuck. I don't want to hit publish here. Just a reminder, this is a working example. So hit save, and then I will exit the Visual Builder, leave the page, edit the post. Okay, so we want to change a couple of things, and there's some settings here that we need to change. So I'd like this to be changed to full width from right sidebar. It's going to make the display of this episode stand out a whole lot more, and I'd like to not show the post title, not using the default way that WordPress would like to display it. We want to use the Divi method, which is fancier and could be useful for all sorts of things like generating podcast artwork and more, if we ever need something like that. So after I make those two quick settings, I'm going to save the draft. And this is just to show how that works, or the before and after. Waiting for that to upload. Okay, there it goes. Server's ready. I'm going to preview this post. And so now we've made it full width. We've gotten rid of that right sidebar, and we can. This preview isn't with the builder running, so we're not building anything here. So we won't see all those extra grayed out options for mobile settings and what have you. We see our title. We see our player that's loaded from PowerPress. We've got links to access and subscribe a number of different ways. We also have a couple buttons to show the two big ones, the main ones. We haven't changed our episode summary yet, so our steps still show up here. Our comments are ready to receive comments if someone wants to leave a comment, our recent episodes, our popular episodes, and this is much more the look and feel that people would get at this point. Our show notes, if we had any, and some other options to get people to subscribe some more. So that's the quick overview of this. It's load layout. Choose that one that we use. It loads it in. We add our MP3 file and our summary and what have you, preview it. It'll generally be a lot easier as you go through this. I've kind of shown the before and after just to make sure it's understood why we need to turn some of these things off here. As we catch up our old episodes someday with the formatting, we can set some site level settings to make this easier and remove a couple steps, speed things up if that's desired. So I'm going to take this episode and delete it so that it doesn't get published and mess with the actual podcast feed itself. Wait for that to delete. And if you have any questions, let me know.